Welcome, welcome, welcome to the main streets of Gadgetzan. What? Yeah! Grimy goons all the way, grimy goons all the way, grimy goons all the way. Nope, not today. Today, we're changing everything, literally changing, and it's time for the Jade Lotus to come out. That's right, the panda-loving people. We coming out, we here. Jade Lotus, baby. New card has been revealed. It will come at the end of this video. But today, I'm going to clear out pretty much most of the Grammy Goons dudes. And we're going to reveal the new Jade Lotus Legendary. It's coming up. This should give you a clue. This is a clue. Yes, I do own a fuzzy panda hat, and I am wearing it, and you will love it. Because that's what pandas do. Do you have some bamboo? I like bamboo. Anyway, let's check out the card. Another fucking sick paladin card that I'm super hyped for. Right over there. There. Right there. Yeah. Still don't know how to point in these videos. The Grime Street Protector. 7 mana, 6/6 paladin card with taunt. But his battle cry gives adjacent minions divine shield. What? What? Look, my little panda ears perked up. What? So, why do I love this card? One, it's a big, giant fucking taunt. Very good for paladin. In Paladin, obviously the theme has been to buff every fucking minion in your hand. So the thing is, this guy's coming out is understated. Technically. But he's probably going to come out as like a 7/7 or an 8/8. Just given the way things have been going. Probably. But even if it just comes out as vanilla 7 mana 6/6 with taunt, that's pretty darn good. I would say that is worth about 7 mana in and of itself. But if you've got minions on the board, then those minions become even harder to kill. And because you've been buffing shit this whole time, and you've been dropping stuff over and over and over again, you know, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, you should have been dropping an overstated, a buffed minion. And if you have, then this guy just crushes your opponent. You can make 2 free trades, in theory. And you get a big motherfucking dude with taunt. Like, it's crazy. This card it's not just a win more card, though. But I love its win more potential. I love what it provides. It gives you the ability to say, oh, you're setting up a board to deal with my board? Nope. We're going face. Or, trade. You ain't got shit now. This card allows you to throttle the game if you're ahead. Now, let's say you're behind. If you're behind, it's still a big booty taunt. It's not bad. People play Chillmaw, a 7 mana, 6/6 taunt neutral card, where if you have a dragon, it deals 3 damage to the board. Originally, that used to be the Grim Patron Sweeper. So this card is not going to sweep the board. What it will do is it's going to tank up to 6 or more damage. And it's just going to allow you to stay alive. And what's really great about this card is a board-centric, buff your stuff, control paladin becomes possible with this card. And you get 2 of them. I want 2. This fucking double auto include. I tell you, this card is crazy. One of my problems with Chillmaw is that it killed your own board. So if you already had a board, it was a terrible play from a head card. But it was a very good play from behind card. And because it had Death Rattle, it mixed in with N'Zothwell, so you could play it and come back. But then when it comes back, sometimes it kills your board too. Yes, it's Death Rattle stuff, so that's not so bad, but you know, it had its benefits, it had its drawbacks. This card is all benefit. In every single situation you could want to play this card, it's gonna do something. At minimum, it's a big booty taunt that protects your face and keeps you alive. Maximum, though, this card is an 8/8. It's a 9/9. It is enormous. It gives Divine Shield to your already buffed minions, and now all these giant dudes are staring your opponent in the face going, what you gonna do? This guy comes in, he's like, nah, boys. We got design locked down. He's a Grime Street protector. Look at him. He looks like a fucking, like a lawyer guy that's like the lawyer of the people. He's like, don't worry, everyone. I will protect you. You have rights. Do you have rights that are being violated? Call me. GSP. Grime Street Protector. I'm the man. Love this card. Fucking great. Love this card. Crazy good. And the other card, next card we're going to look at here is the Grimy Gadgeteer. It is a 4-mana, 4/3, but at the end of your turn, give a random minion in your hand, +2/+2. So I really love that they're starting to make more cards that have at the end of your turn effects. The only one that really saw play was Thorson, but his effect is crazy. So that dude literally, like, you played him and he basically had taunt. You know, it's what's called soft taunt. There are cards in this game that are just such high priority targets, they might as well have taunt on them. And I would say that this card right here also has soft taunt because it is a continuous effect. Yes, this card is slightly understated. It is a 4-mana 4/3. Usually for 4 mana you want a 4/5. So this is more along the lines of a 3-mana stat line. And it's statted aggressively at 4/3 instead of at 3/4. So it's much easier to kill, excuse me. 3 2s can trade into this 4/3 and kill it relatively easily. So it is a fragile body, but it has to be fragile because its effect is so good. It's giving minions +2/+2 over and over and over and over again. And if this guy gets any buffs whatsoever, this dude becomes crazy good. He comes out as a 5/4, comes out as a 6/5, then he's very hard to kill, and now he's buffing everything in your fucking hand. And if there's one class that I feel like can really take advantage of the buff stuff in your hand aspects that are coming out in the game, it's the Warrior. Because the Warrior is meant to be a class that lasts a long time. It armors up, it tanks up, it hunkers down, and it plays big stuff. Control Warrior. This card in a Control Warrior, wow. All your shit comes out bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But I feel like its use is not actually in Control Warrior. Control Warrior already plays big stuff. They don't necessarily care about making a 10/10 rag versus an 8/8 rag. It doesn't really change things. What this card does change, though, is tempo-oriented warriors. And so what you want to do with this card is get about 1 buff on it. That's all you need. Get 1 buff on it. And then drop this guy. And having already played a couple of cards already, then this guy will just buff everything in your hand. And now you're dropping turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, turn 8. And everything's getting a buff. And everything is coming out bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And because this card, because its effect is so strong, they have to kill it. So it's kind of like it is like Thorson in that sense, where you play it and everything in your hand gets a -1 to mana cost, but then you're also basically healing for 5 because he has to kill the damn thing. He can't just let Thorson sit out there. Very rarely is there a situation that comes up where it's like, all right, fuck it, you got Thorson. I'm attacking, I'm going face. And you have to be way ahead at that point. And then Thorson's not saving his ass anyway. If you're just even on board and you play a Grimy Gadgeteer, this guy has to be killed. And that's why it's so cool. And I really like this idea. And man, look at the curve. This guy gets +2/+2 to fucking your Ally Armorsmith. And then your Ally Armorsmith comes out as a 4/9, and it's got taunt, and it's protecting the Grimy Gadgeteer, and then this guy's just buffing and buffing and buffing and buffing and buffing. Limitless potential with this card. That being said, like I said, it is very fragile, and it costs 4 mana. It's hard to say in Warrior how many minions you're going to have left at this point. But there's a good chance that you can manipulate your hand to get this guy to buff the one guy that you really want to buff. The Doppelgangster, the Alley Armorsmith, maybe a Bloodhoof Brave. I don't know. Some giant taunt minions, whatever. And the nice part is, too, because it's all in... He's one card. So when you play this card and you get the buff, and then it goes on to another minion, and then you play that minion, it's not like if that minion gets hard removed, you're not sitting there going, well, shit, I wasted a card and then a buff card on him. No, you didn't, right? You played a minion, and it just happened to have a buff that landed on this guy. So you're not getting a card disadvantage, right? This is one of the problems with that card Stolen Goods that gives you +3/+3 to a random taunt minion, is you played it, and now it hits that random taunt minion. You know, let's say it hits the Alley Armorsmith, and now it becomes a 5/10. Okay, that's great. You play it, though, you know, and it gets hit with a fucking Assassinate, or it gets hit with a Polymorph, and then you've lost 2 cards. Ugh. Feels bad. This card doesn't feel bad at all, right? You hit this guy right here, who cares, right? So if the guy that gets hard removed, that got this buff, gets hard removed, it's fine. It's fine. It's still a 1-for-1 trade. So you don't feel terrible about it. Right? And like I said, they gotta kill this guy. So, very neat in-game interactions, I think, with this card. I like this card a lot. I think it's been really good. Oh, I forgot to score. Grime Street Protector. My boy GSP, 10 out of 10, obviously. In Arena, he's gonna be fantastic too. 10 out of 10. Grimy Gadgeteer, it's a good card. It's a solid card. And I think it's better than it seems on the surface, but it is fragile. And if it doesn't get a buff, it's not as good. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 right now. In Arena, it's going to be fantastic. All these buff cards in Arena are going to be great. 8 out of 10 in Arena. All right. Moving on. New cards. Loving the new cards. So we just did that. Got another card coming up right here. Brass Knucks. I've been waiting for a card like this to be revealed. With all this, gangster, grimy, goony aesthetic, how's there not brass knuckles in this game? Guess what? There are. Loving it. 4 mana, 2/3. After your hero attacks, give a random mana in your hand +1/+1. Now, I have issues with this card costing 4 mana, because we just saw the Grimy Gadgeteer, and I think the Grimy Gadgeteer is better than this card. Personally. That being said, what's nice about this card is you do get a weapon with it. So, it's a 2/3 stat line. So it's the reverse of a Fiery War Axe. Nah. But what's a 2/3 weapon worth? Probably about 2 mana. Maybe 2 mana, 3 mana. Something like that. You know, Argent Lance is a 2 mana 2/2 weapon that could gain an additional durability. Excuse me. So then you got to factor in, well, what is the cost of getting random minions +1/+1 3 times? So getting a +3/+3 buff, it's probably about 2 mana. So, you know, in terms of cost, it's actually fine. But when you put them together, see, people would argue that because it's all in one card, it should actually be relatively more expensive. And the reason for that is because you're getting all the value packed into one card. And I would actually say no, it should be slightly cheaper. And yes, you're getting great value, but the problem is that the mana cost skyrockets. The higher something costs in mana, the later you can use it, and the less effective it is in the early game. The reason why these cheap cards are so good is because they are utilized in the early game. This is why Crazed Alchemist versus the Kooky Chemist, right? The 2 mana 2/2 that swaps stats versus the 4 mana 4/4 that swaps stats. Crazed Alchemist is significantly better because I can use it to kill a turn 2 Doomsayer. I can use it to kill a turn 3 Manatide Totem. See what I mean? It has early game effects, whereas a 4 mana 4/4, I'm less likely to want to swap shit. You know, you're probably going to combine it with the pint-sized potion to then kill something. Yay, now it costs 5 mana to kill something. Yes, I get a much better body, so that's good. but its applications are less applicable in the early game. And that's the problem with this card too. Is by the time it hits 4 mana, by the time you get to 4 mana, it's a lot harder to clear stuff out with to attack. It's helpful, and this is more of a control card. And then you're going to buff other stuff. But now you're thinking, what am I doing on turn 5? What am I doing on turn 6? What am I doing on turn 7? Well, hopefully those cards are a little bit more buffed, but I feel like you're kind of almost taking a turn off by playing this card. But the nice part is you are getting value for the late game. So what this card is meant to do is trade a slight bit of tempo now to then get extra tempo later on. And the question is, in a warrior deck, is that going to be desirable? Is that something that you can fade? A lot of times the way the warrior decks lose is they just get out-tempoed. And somebody just, minion, I can't deal with all of it. And they get hit in the face and they lose. So with Brass Knuckles, you are getting 3 swings of 2 damage each. Significant. You are getting buffs on things. Significant. It's nice that's all in one card. That's significant. My only concern is this coming too late? Yes, I know it's 4 mana. So it's not like we're in the late game yet. But that being said, this is the kind of card where you actually need to have played stuff already for it to be truly effective. And if you're playing stuff already, there's less stuff in your hand to buff. So my concern with this card is that its role in a deck is going to be really hard to pull off. And you're going to have to figure out exactly what you want out of this card in order to make it work. And figure out sort of... You actually have to sort of build your game plan of your deck around this card to make it effective. And I don't know if this card is actually strong enough to warrant doing that. So that's what I would say. So I think in Constructed, it's probably not going to see a lot of play. I'm thinking that it gives like a 4. Like it's borderline playable. And I think somebody will figure out a way to play it and make it good. It's just not apparent. It's not as apparent as the other cards. And so I feel like this is definitely a card, though, that I'm going to be putting to in a deck and just trying a lot of different decks. This deck fosters deck building. So that's what I like. I like the idea that it fosters deck building. In Arena, I don't think you can take the tempo loss with this card. That's my concern. You want to be playing stuff, trading. Playing stuff, trading. Playing stuff, trading. And I don't know if this is good enough to do that. But, hey, it does buff your other minions. I don't know. Control Warrior in Arena is hard to pull off because it's so synergistic and constructed. Usually when I play Warrior in Arena and I'm doing well, it's a tempo version of a Warrior. It's got a lot of weapons. It attacks and hopefully I get some weapon buffs and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Now, speaking of weapon buffs, that is where this card really shines. Because remember, we had the Grime Street Pawnbroker, which is a 3-mana 3/3, give +1/+1 to a random weapon in your hand. If this weapon gets buffed in hand or gets upgraded later, now it's really solid. Now we got a very nice control card that buffs the stuff in your hand. We've got a 3/4. That's really good. That's really good. That's just as good as an Assassin's Blade. It's as good as a Fool's Bane that can go face but doesn't get to attack a bunch of times. So maybe if this card gets buffed, now you're just punching the dude in the face instead of just giving your minions buffs and continuing to play stuff. That's cool. Like, I can see that being an application of this card. This might be the only weapon you run. Maybe this and like an Arcanite Reaper, and then just play weapon buff stuff in Pirate, and then you have more of a mid-rangey Pirate instead of an aggro Pirate. Just saying, there's applications here. I do like the card. Well, like I said, my concern is it's just low stat line, and I'm not sure how good it's actually going to be. And this is one of the few cards that I've seen coming out where I'm just like, I could see it not seeing play. Aside from the trash cards, just the filler, weird stat line cards. Like, this is the first legitimate class card where I'm kind of like, it might not make it. It's probably not going to make it. Pretty much everyone since then, I've been like, there's a deck for this. There's a spot for this. We can figure it out. So, that's my take. All right, let's move on. And we've got another card right here. The Rat Pack. This card intrigues me. Now, you remember Dispatch Kodo. 4 mana, 2/4. Deal damage equal to the creature's attack. Well, here's another card that works with getting hand buffs. It is a 3 mana, 2/2 Hunter card, Death Rattle. Summon a number of 1/1 rats equal to this minion's attack. Now, I don't have a picture of the rats on here, but I've confirmed that they are 1/1 beasts. Good to have, right? So you've always got beast synergy with this card. Now, it's a 2/2 from hand, and then if it dies, it summons 2 1/1s. That's pretty good already. Like, just baseline, pretty good. Little bit of a tempo loss on turn 3, but losing tempo on turn 3 is not so bad. Not in Hunter. Because they're frequently their turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, turn 7 places where they really get going. But let's think about this card if it gets buffed. Even if it just got Abusive Sergeanted, it would summon 4 1/1s. Right? That's another thing that has been confirmed. Temporary buffs also affect this card. It's at the moment it dies. So that's pretty awesome. Right? A 4/2 that trades, which then summons 4 1/1s. How can that be bad? Right? So it looks like Hunter might become a tokeny style kind of deck. Right? It's got a lot of cards that are kind of like the Piloted Shredder. Right? It dies and summons more shit. Alright, you've already got Savannah Highmane, a 6/5 that summons 2 2/2s. You've got Infested Wolf, a 3/3 that summons 2 1/1s. You now have Rat Pack, a 2/2 that summons 2 1/1s or more. You've got the Piranha Launcher, a weapon that summons 1/1s. You've got Houndmaster that buffs all of these things. It's kind of nuts. And Shaky Zip Gunner comes in and it buffs stuff. And right, this comes out as a 4/4, which summons 4 1/1s. Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's this really crazy, like buff your stuff, mid-range, topping out at Savannah Highmane kind of deck, you know? Maybe I don't even play Call of the Wild anymore because I got all this shit that never dies. You know, I just play stuff and it sticks on the board and I just keep attacking. I don't need to run fucking secrets if I got these guys. You know, so a whole new mid-rangey, super annoying, hella shit on the board Hunter, I think, is coming out, and Rat Pack is going to be a significant part of the early game for this card. I want to try making a deck that literally just doesn't run any of the classic Hunter early game stuff. And I just want to play a deck that plays a bunch of shit, that buffs a bunch of shit, man. I mean, you thought Haunted Creeper was annoying. Fuck. These guys are going to be super annoying. You know, just like I said, just imagine if this gets a buff, dude. This might push Infested Wolf out. You know, I think this card is better than Infested Wolf, personally. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Houndmaster is even better in this game. Like, who knew, man? Houndmaster didn't even see play a lot of the time before in Hunter decks, and now it's like, oh, I have to include it. Look at all this shit I can buff. You know? Like, you're almost always guaranteed to have a fucking Houndmaster buff on turn 4 with the way this game is going. You know, one of the things about Infested Wolf that was kind of lame is that it costed 4 mana. So, what am I buffing? You know, this is why Carrion Grub was invented. You know, this card is definitely replacing Carrion Grub. Who gives a shit about a 2/5? Like, fuck, give me this thing that spawns a bunch of shit. So, like I said, I really like this card, and I'm definitely gonna, the first deck I'm gonna create for Hunter, not necessarily the first deck, because I love me some Paladin, so I'll be making crazy Paladin cards, but if I get a chance, as soon as I get a chance, I'm making a fucking super annoying Death Rattle spawn a bunch of shit Hunter, where we just kill you with a shitload of 1/1s, man. Ugh, love it. So in Constructed, it's going to be very, very good. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. It's just going to be super annoying. In Arena, it's a lot harder to buff your stuff in Arena. So this is just a 3-mana 2/2 that summons 2/1/1s. It's always good to have board presence. Haunted Creeper is a surprisingly good card in Arena. Why? It can only deal 1 damage at an attack. But it just guarantees that you've always got something on the board that needs to be dealt with. And having something like this that guarantees that you always have something on the board to be dealt with is really important. You need to always have board presence in Arena. And a card like this is going to allow you to do that. Especially in Hunter, where your hero power is constantly whittling your opponent down. And so this is going to allow you to play a very whittling style in Arena. So in Arena, I think it's also a very good card. Not as good in Constructed, though. So I'm going to give it like a 6. But solid card, and I think it's much better than a lot of the other epic cards that are out there. Alrighty, moving on. Moving on. Can't stop, won't stop. Knuckles. What? Knuckles? We just saw Knuckles. This is a different card. Much different card. Boom. Hunter Legendary has been revealed. 5 mana, 3/7. After this attacks a minion, it also hits the enemy hero. Can you say Smorktastic? Smorktastic! What do I love about this card? Well, aesthetic-wise, I think this is really neat. Do you remember the card called Brass Knuckles? If you put Brass Knuckles on a Silverback Patriarch, and you give 2/3 to a 1/4 minion, it becomes a 3/7. I think that's how they got the stat line. I don't know if they did, but that is a pretty major coincidence. A Silverback Patriarch with Brass Knuckles called Knuckles is a 3/7 for 5 mana. Right? Because it's a 3 mana, and then you give it a 2 mana buff. And here it is. Because remember, we're talking about the Knuckles portion of the Brass Knuckles is worth about 2 mana. They made it into a card. And it's a legendary. But what do I love the most about it? It's a Smork card. It is a control Smork card. What? They did it. They finally did it. They finally made a control card for Hunter that also is a Hunter card that still smorks, still goes face. Fucking genius. 3/7 is an excellent stat line. It's like a Cobra shot with a body. That's fucking great. And it's really hard to kill 7 mana worth of shit. Now, realize that if things trade into it, it doesn't get to go face. But if it attacks, it also goes face. So it's going to allow you to clear your opponent's board and hit them in the face. How fucking great is that? And it goes through taunts. So you could actually hit their taunt, kill their taunt, and then go through it. Right? So you could, let's say they have like an Alley Armorsmith, right? So, 3 damage isn't going to kill the Alley Armorsmith. But you smack it for 3, it deals 2, and then you just go and punch that fucking dude in the face. Fucking awesome. What a well-designed, neat card. Now, how is this card even better? What if it gets buffed? What if Shaky Zip Gunner hits this motherfucker and it's a 5/9? What? And it's a beast. What if Troll Beast Ranger hits this? It's a 4/8. What? Hype Train Reel. What if it becomes a 6/10? Shit, it's like a fucking fireball that can clear your board. Noted, if you hit in the face with this thing, it doesn't also hit in the face again. It has to attack a minion. So you don't get 2 punches to the face, which would make this card OP. And they'd probably have to cost it at like 7 or 8 mana. So, I think it's a very neat card. It's also a 5-drop. So, I think what you're going to see now is a deck with a bunch of annoying shit, a deck with buffs, and then a deck with Knuckles and Princess Huhuran and a Savannah Highmane capping off the top. It's going to be a very annoying, buff, minion-based deck that just weaves in hero powers on turn 7, 8, 9, and kills your opponent. You know, Call of the Wild's gone. King Crush might be played in that deck as a finisher as well. Just saying, I'm spitballing, throwing stuff out there. These are ideas that come to me when I see a card like this. You know, and that's what's so great. It's a smart card, and it's a control card. What the fuck? We've never had a card like that before. Technically, Cobra Shot, you could say, was a card like that. But who the fuck's playing Cobra Shot? Finally, we have a Cobra Shot that's actually statted properly. That's worth playing. Fuck, man, this card is so good. It's awesome. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Love it. Love it. And in Arena, it's okay, it's in Legendary, so it's not coming out. But, you know, it's pretty good. Compared to a lot of other Legendaries, this is a very good, well-statted, awesome card. And like I said, it allows you to control and also go face. And that was always the problem with Hunter, is you had to choose. You always had to choose, and inevitably control would lose because you're a hunter and you want to go face. Excuse me. All right. And then the big bad man himself, the tri-class legendary, the man, the leader of the grimy goons, Senor Don Honcho. Don Honcho. Very nice. That's like a Jade Lotus thing. Never mind. Don Honcho in the house. What? Grimy goons. Grimy goons. Yeah, grimy goons. What? Grimy goons. Ugh. Don Honcho in the house. So, for those of you who don't know, there are 3 tri-class cards that are associated with each tribe. Right? So the Grimy Goons, this is their legendary. So it can be played in Paladin, Warrior, or Hunter. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about then because it has so many applications to a lot of different classes. But what the fuck? Look at this card. 5/6 that gives 5/5 to a fucking thing in your hand? What? That's insane! Holy shit! Any fucking minion in your hand is now a powerhouse. Don Hancho, my goodness, man. And it's really, I love the aesthetic of this card because he's an ogre, right? So he's got 2 heads. So he typically the ogre cards have 2 effects, you know? And so it's so neat. He's already buff, and then he's like, hey, you're buff too. Come on, let's go. Let me give you a gun. You know? Don Hancho just goes, here, giant gun. Go attack. I mean, that's the aesthetic of the card. And I really like it. And notice, it's a battle cry. So, brand synergy. What? Brand synergy? You know, can you see, like a big-time racketeer getting, you know, you go brand, big-time racketeer, and you get a 1/1 and 2 6/6s. Or brand Don Honcho, something's getting fucking 5/5, and then something else is getting 5/5. You potentially could give a card 10/10, but I believe because it's a random in your hand, in all likelihood, assuming you have 2 minions in your hand, you're going to get 5/5 on one and 5/5 on the other, probably. You know, it gets spread around. It's not going to just double land on one card, is what I'm saying. This card's insane. Now imagine if this card gets buffed, right? Imagine if this card becomes a 6/7. Right, so 5/6 stats is worth about 5 mana. That's like a 5 mana card. And giving another card +5/+5, you could say is worth about 4 mana. 4 to 5 mana, right? Blessing of Kings is a 4/4. So this is a 5/5, but it's a delayed 5/5. So I would, you know, reduce its effectiveness by about 1 mana. So in theory, you are getting a 5 mana 5/5 and a 4 mana 5 mana 5/6 and a 4 mana 5/5 later on in one card. This card only costs 7 mana. You're getting 11 mana worth of shit for a 7 mana card. That's crazy value. Oh my god. Imagine dropping this card and then it hits the Grime Street Protector and that comes out as an 11/11 and gives this dude Divine Shield. I mean, you're just never bashing. You're never getting through that. You're just never getting through that. That's insane, man. You know, the Grime Street Protector being a two of is blowing my mind because it has so many applications. Because when you have these big legendaries that come out, you can play him and protect everything. And so he can also protect the card that gets buffed by Don Hancho. What? So many applications in this card. My only concern with a card like Don Hancho is that by the time turn 7 rolls around, you may not have very many minions in your hand anymore. And so that's kind of a problem. If you are playing a very tempo-based, buff-based paladin deck, for instance, you might be out of minions at this point. So hopefully you're not. And that's where small-time recruits comes in, and this guy hitting a small-time recruit is ridiculous. You imagine playing a 1-mana 6/6 Argent Squire? Boop! Deal with that, motherfucker! You know? It's really good in Warrior. You know, this card hitting a massive taunt minion, hitting an Alley Armorsmith, hitting a fucking Sogoth. Oh, geez, Sogoth becomes playable now, right? You know, and, you know, maybe by the time turn 7, turn 8 rolls around, Sogoth is all you got in your hand. You drop a fucking 10-14 Sogoth? Whoa. How does your opponent beat that? You know? That guy's getting one swing, at least one swing. And a 10-14 Sogoth is getting at least one swing. And that's what's so great. The problem is, and I can see how this buffs Sogoth, is because he was somewhat understated, which is weird, because it costs 9 mana. You need something really, really big that has a huge impact on the board, and he's just not statted well enough to actually see a lot of play. With Don Hancho and with all these buff cards, Sogoth becomes massively powerful, right? Even getting him up to like a 7-11. Getting go to a 7-11. Sogoth's been drinking again! Becomes an excellent play. A 7-11 taunt on 9. I'll take that. An 8-12 on 9. Oh man, definitely take that. But like I said, a 10-14 on turn 9. Wow. Wow. Very, very good in Warrior, right? You know, so... And then a Hunter... Fuck, you might not even play this card. Hunter's the only one where I'm kind of like, it's too expensive. It'd be neat, you know. It's neat if it hits the Rat Pack. It needs if it hits the what? God, the Kodo. Fuck, Raging Kodo, Blast Kodo. Fuck, I forgot its name. Anyway, the 4-mana 2/4 that deals its attack damage and damage. Right? If it hits that card, and then it becomes a 7/9. Whoa, now you're dealing 7 to the face and you're dropping a 7/9 minion for 4 mana on turn 8 or 9. Like, that's crazy. You can weave that in with other shit. You know, so Don Hancho has a place in every single one of these decks. I think he will be almost certainly an auto-include. You know, I mean, you could squeeze him in. He's the new Dr. Boom for Warrior, Paladin, and Hunter. Might as well throw him in. Like, why not? How could this be bad? It can't. How could this be bad? It's amazing. Amazing card. 10 out of 10. And in Arena, it's also a 10 out of 10. Granted, you're not going to get it that often, but insane card. Just insane, ridiculous, amazing, incredibly good card. Just absolutely incredibly good card. But here is the reason why I'm wearing a panda hat today. So grimy goons, take a seat, because it is time for the Jade Lotus. Boing, boing. Bam! Madam Goya. 6 mana, 4/3. Choose a friendly minion, swap it with a minion in your deck. I have a lot of thoughts on this card. Because it kind of blows my mind. And it's not the reason I bought the panda hat. Of course, I already had the panda hat. You shouldn't be surprised by that. But it blows my mind because of the applications. 1. You play it, if you just take random minion X and switch it with random minion Y. Random minion X goes back in your deck, so you get it again. It does become a draw for you again. But it's basically healed. And then you get another minion that comes out of your deck. And that minion could be very, very good. So, one of the applications I can see with Madame Goya. Now, notice it is a neutral legendary. So, this can go in any deck. So, it's not just a Jade Lotus card. It's Jade Lotus themed to me. Let's say you're paying Shaman, right? Totem. Okay. Madame Goya. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Thing from below. Thank you. You know. Totem. Boop, switch. Bam, fire elemental. Thank you. Muchas gracias. You know, totem. Madame Goya. Boop, boop, boop. 4 mana, 7/7. Yay! With no overload. Yay! Thank you. Even totem, drop, boop, switch, Manatide totem. Hey, 2 card draws. I'll take it. Now, this does mean at some point down the line you are going to draw a shitty minion. But to me, being able to trade a totem for a much better card is really impactful. Same thing in the Paladin, right? You take a one, you trade a 1/1 in for something better. You get the Grime Street Protector out of this. Now you got a 4/3 and a 6/6 with Taunt that just came out. Like, whoa. You switch a fucking a 1/1 for Tyrion, a 1/1 for Ragnaros. What? Either Ragnaros, So this card, if it hits, it's going to hit big. Or when it hits big, it's going to hit huge. Now, obviously, it could hit shitty, right? You could be trading a relatively good minion on board for a relatively shitty minion in your hand, right? You trade a 5-drop for a 2-drop. That's not so good. So, Madame Goya is going to make you want to play more top-end stuff to get it switched out. To increase the likelihood of you switching out stuff. So, I can see Madame Goya being put into a very control-oriented decks that really only run big minions. This would be very good. And this is why I believe it is a Jade Lotus themed card. You put this in Druid that has all the big minions, right? And you summon a bunch of tokens, right? You play Living Roots and then Madame Goya, and you trade out a 1/1 for an 8/8. Whoa. Boom. This would go very, very good in like Astral Communion decks or super giant, Ramp Druid. Would love to have this card, especially since Moonglade Portal has gotten a nerf because of the Big Time Racketeer. So there's a lot of applications here. In Rogue, this is a really neat card, because maybe you can get your Gadgetzan out and have a 4/3 out. Maybe you can get your fucking Malagos out and then just start dropping spells and shit. A lot of those rogue decks don't run a ton of minions. Maybe you get, you switch like, I don't know, an SI7 agent that's been used already, and you just upgrade to a Tomb Pillager. That's good enough, and you get a 4/3 on the board. So there's extreme cases for this card, but there's also just relatively run-of-the-mill, sort of normal flip-flopping of cards. And, you don't get the Battle Cry on the card, which just sucks. So, this card is not as good if it switches out a Battle Cry minion. But, like I said, this card reminds me a lot of the Onyx Bishop, but you need a minion. So, the reason Onyx Bishop is good is because you get a body and another creature. So same thing with Madame Goya. You get the body, a 4/3 body, which is not negligible, and another creature. That's neat. That's awesome. Great. And hopefully you've upgraded that creature. So this is like Barnes on steroids. Whereas Barnes brought out a 1/1 and it was a copy. This card is just bringing the fucking minion out. And you just need a minion there. So, I feel like this card has so many applications and could see a ton of play in a ton of different decks. But I can also see this card just not making the cut. Because it's a random minion in your deck. And a lot of decks, you may not want to spend 6 mana to swap creatures. You know, there's just, I can see so many situations where Madame Goya just becomes a 6-mana 4/3. And that's it. Or a 6-mana 4/3 downgrade one of the creatures on your board already. So there's a lot of situations where this card is terrible. And that's why I feel like it is so hard to rate and so hard to think about, because it's like, man, how many situations are you going to be in where you're just like, fuck, I don't want to drop 6 mana to screw up my curve. I don't want to pay 6 mana to screw up my board state. You know, it's a gamble card. You know, let's roll the dice. You know, it would be good if you had a lot of stealth minions in your deck, right? Because then you could guarantee that those minions would live. Or maybe with some charge minions in your deck. That'd be kind of cool. Play a 4/3, flop it out, get a charge minion out, and boom, we're going face. I could see applications there. Maybe this would be good in like a charge warlock deck. Something like that. Play it on 6, swap it out, get Leroy, boom, we're going face. Get Leroy Sans Battlecry. So, I think this is one of those cards where the very intelligent deck builders of the world are going to find ways to make this card really good. But I feel like the general public will be playing this card and trying it out and going, this card sucks. This card's lame. I don't like it. 6 mana. Who cares? So I feel like this card has a lot of potential, but I also feel like it's one of those cards that's very difficult to play and very difficult to find situations that it's going to be truly beneficial in, and therefore will probably not see a lot of play. In Arena, this card is okay. You know, you can find a spot for it, you know, because there's a lot of garbage minions that you'd be flopping in and out. So, you know, it's worse in Arena. It's better in Constructed, but it's definitely a card that you're going to have to build around and try to figure out a way to make it work in your deck. And then I think it can be very, very effective, especially, like I said, if you have like a charge deck or, you know, big minions deck or like a taunt deck that, you know, you all pretty much guaranteed to flop in and out taunts. You know, there's stuff. It's RNG, but it has controllability to it. So I like that, and I like that idea. And of course, it's a panda, so I love it. And hopefully there's more panda cards so I get to wear the hat again. But yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please, please, please check out the live streams and the links below. Please check out the more videos. Check out my Facebook page. All the good stuff. It's all in the links below. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Rockstar and the Panda are out of here.